Happy Friday, poddies. If you can hear the fan in the background, that is because I'm recording this when it's actually hot in the UK. And I did try having the fan off and it was just unsuccessful. You know that weird feeling you get at the back of your neck? I don't know whether this happens to anyone else, but for me, I get this really awkward, sweating. This is a disgusting topic to start with, isn't it? But I get this really awkward, sweating right at the nape of my neck whenever I'm too hot. I don't know whether this is a woman thing because we have long hair or what that is, but it's really annoying. It doesn't matter what I do. It seems to be the case that I just get this weird, sweating only at the back of my neck. Maybe that's just how I roll. I'm not sure. But anyway, we are digging into Friday. I'm very excited to let you guys meet, if you haven't already, the amazing Amy Woods from Content 10X. And today we have this really interesting conversation about not only content repurposing, which is what Amy does, but more importantly, some of the time management strategies that you can employ in your business to help you become more productive. And some of the lessons that we both learned from the corporate world about really making sure that you can help your business become successful in a much quicker and easier way for you. So it was actually a really lovely opportunity for me to have a conversation with Amy about this because we both come from similar backgrounds. Amy used to work for one of the world's largest consultancy firms. I used to do a lot with different consulting firms for huge brands. And there were a lot of overlapping lessons that, we both took away from our time in corporate that I think really contributed to the success that we've both gone on to have with our businesses in relatively short periods of time. So this conversation is super interesting and it's really relevant to me because I think one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of recently is that people are starting to think about content repurposing and business building as doing what everybody else is doing. And, I've talked about cookie cutter kind of business building on the podcast before, and we've discussed how much I dislike it. And I just think it's massively inappropriate to keep teaching cookie cutter methods because we know that they're not as successful. And we know that it then takes people longer to grow. And the conversation that I've had with Amy today is about how you can repurpose your content in a way that is unique to you, unique to your business, but more importantly, that's going to help you get an ROI and be generating an ROI and that return on investment from the time and energy that you are spending creating that content in the first place. And it's going to teach you a lot about not having to create constant new organic content because again we also know that that's not working. And if you are somebody who sat there this summer thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have time to look away from my children, from the summer activities that I'm doing, drinking cocktails on beaches, I'm very jealous, then you'll know that actually you don't have the time to be creating endless content, and more importantly, you don't have the time to be consuming endless content. So why do we assume that our audience does? As you can tell, it's an episode that I'm really passionate about. I'm really excited about the conversation. And I loved having this chat with Amy. So I really hope you enjoy it too. I hope it settles you into the weekend, gets you fired up about next week. And regardless of how much time you have to spend on your business over the next couple of weeks with summer holidays and with all the good stuff, know that you're going to come back and start repurposing that content of yours so that you can really get the most ROI and that your audience get the most impact possible. Let us know how we did, and I will see you at the end of the convo. Okay, poddies, happy sunny Friday. I say sunny because it's sunny when we're recording this, and I'm really excited to have the amazing Amy Woods on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this because you are somebody that I sort of watched from afar for a while. I don't know whether you know that, but no. The first Youpreneur in 2017, you went up onto the stage, and I can't remember. I think it was because you were a top student or something like that. You'd done really well at something, and you were there, and you're one of the few people that actually talked about your previous industry expertise. And I remember sitting on the table being like, thank goodness that there are other people in the crazy online space who've had real jobs before, who've proven their expertise in multiple areas. And you've gone on to create this incredible company, Content 10X, and really turned the world of repurposing on its head. And then I was fortunate enough to obviously meet you in a mastermind late last year and was like, oh, this is going to be great. I get to work with Amy. So talk to us a little bit about that journey, because it's been a big one for you over the last three or 4 years?
Yeah, so basically the journey going, as you said, kind of way back, almost a bit of a history lesson, but I'll be quick. So I was a management consultant for 12, 13 years with Accenture. So as you mentioned, like kind of big corporate, I worked in change management, the banking industry. So my specialist area were mergers and acquisitions, big large scale transformations, working with big banks and investment companies, things like that. And so it involved an awful lot of travel. So I'm not one of these people that said that I hated it. I didn't hate it. I really enjoyed it. It was great, really interesting work, really wonderful people to work with. But I suppose when I had my kids, actually, you start to realize that this is a career that I've built that is not very family friendly. So I couldn't really leave every Monday and come back every Friday anymore. That didn't really work very well. And then actually I became a bit unwell. So I had a period of ill health that I'd never had before. And I had time off because I kept having to have these operations, kept having to go into recovery. And so in that time, I reskilled and I was introduced to podcasts and online courses and all these things that I'd never seen. So I was just on the hamster wheel, just turn up, work, and then try and have some kind of personal life. So I didn't know about any of this content. So I was learning about everything, learning about online business, which was then really attracted to the prospect of doing something online. And so I started a business that was more akin to my business consultancy, but trying to deliver by online consultations. And I built a course and things like that. And I was working with smaller businesses instead of big business. And then I was basically doing a lot of content, creating Facebook Lives and things like that, doing what all the gurus tell you to do, I suppose. And then I just had this idea about focusing completely on content repurposing as a service, because I was repurposing my content, but I had a copywriter helping with copy, I had a graphic designer with graphics and video editor helping with all of that. So I had a little team of people that were helping me, and realized, not everyone wants to juggle 5 freelancers or manage in-house, like actually hire 5 or 6 people. And to do that kind of repurposing effectively, it's a lot of skill sets that are involved. You can't really expect one person to do everything. So I kind of pivoted, I suppose. And so you mentioned Youpreneur in 2017. So and that would have been November. So at that time, my business was about months old, like it was probably about 6 months old or something like that. And now May this year was my 2nd year birthday of running the business. So massive change, from big corporate managing huge teams and massive, like hundreds of $1 million budget, to a smaller business with a smaller team, working with clients of smaller businesses as well. Although, I'm kind of open to work with anyone, but quite a journey, and it's been kind of rocky, but overall enjoyable.
I love what you said there about kind of falling into it, because I think so many people, when you start your business, I think you have this preconceived idea. I know I did, like when I first started my business, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go in and do some sales trainings in corporate, and like it'll be really, I'll go in and one day a week I'll wear a suit and I'll just rock up and deliver some stuff. And then when I started doing it, I was like, oh no, I hate all of that. And your business naturally follows probably a different path than the one we initially expect. But I think so many people are quite scared about that. They're scared to pivot. They're scared that when they make the change, that they'll have no clients, and that, what happens to even a small audience that they've built up. And I think it's really hard. Sometimes people just get stuck in a business they don't actually like, or that isn't actually working all that well for them. Like, how did you find that transition period?
Well, it's funny because I guess I was quite fortunate in terms of because I'd been a little bit poorly and had some time off, I was doing things on the side in a way. Like I was kind of, supposed to be taking it easy, but actually doing things on the side while still getting, I still had my job basically. So I still had my salary. And then when I resigned, they said, take a year of absence instead, because I probably didn't believe that I was actually, please don't leave, please go on, take a year of absence and come back. So I had a little bit of a comfort blanket, which I was quite, fortunate with, really, because some people don't have that. But I think I just got more and more excited about the whole prospect of having my own business. So I was one of those people who always said that I wanted to have my own business. And even when I started as a grad, I remember saying to everyone, this is a 2-year thing. I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to learn everything about business for 2 years. And and then I'm starting my own business. In 2 years, it becomes 3, it becomes 4, because you get a promotion and then you think, well, I'll stick around because I've just been promoted. And before you know it, the next one's sort of on the horizon and so on. And so I was always that kind of person who aspired to be a business owner and entrepreneur, but just carried on doing what I was doing. And I think I always thought I had to come up with a big invention. So I'd always be watching Dragon's Den and things like that and sitting there thinking, to have my business, I need to come up with this invention or something different and stuff. So honestly, you would hear me with my friends always pitching, this is my next idea, right? It's going to be and people would just be like, oh God, no, what's she on about? And half of the things I'd invent, I'd come up with something and then race home and Google and it already existed. So it's like, oh yeah, come on to the next one. So that I think I always kind of thought you had to come up with something completely different, like you were going to be one of these Dragon Den type people. Or I saw more product-based businesses, not really this online world, but, be thinking, oh, maybe I should, open a restaurant or coffee shop or something, which weren't akin to me, but, just desperate to be a business, have my own business and break free. So then it was discovering the online business world. I probably followed a similar path to a lot of people of discovering people like Pat Flynn. And it was really Amy Porterfield, Pat Flynn. I joined this digital marketing agency, like a training company that turned out to be some terrible MLM type, scheme where they were teaching you to affiliate market, but really only affiliate market their products and that kind of thing. But despite their flaws, I learned all this, how to build websites, learn about WordPress, learn about email marketing, learn about all these different things. And it's just putting all the skills together. It just became more and more exciting because every new skill that I learned, it seemed like it was possible to actually forge forward and do something with this. And I think when the collection of skills came together, it was just time to take the leap and give it a go. And I always felt like, what's the worst that could happen? I'll go back to having a job again, basically.
So funny. That's exactly what Sam says to me. He's like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I'm like, oh my God, because I'm a natural worrier. So I'm like, everything is the worst thing. But I think it's funny because you're talking like you always wanted to be a business owner. I never did. I was like in corporate and I was golden handcuffed right up to the hilt. I was like, well, hey, I love my job and like it's great. And like had I not got ME, I'd have still been there. I'd have had my briefcase and I'd have had my BlackBerry and I'd have probably at this point in time had a heart attack as well. All the like Red Bull I was drinking. But it is so interesting that I think the corporate world, it sucks you in. It does give you the golden handcuffs of security and promotions and salary and all that kind of thing. But it's surprising now how many people take what they've learned from their corporate careers and put it into their own business and just have more faith in themselves or in not wanting to work for the man, as it were, or the woman. Equality, guys, I'm going to throw it out there. But it's that kind of thing where I think sometimes people walk into online business and actually they forget everything that they learned from a corporate career. They forget about their KPIs. They, discard time management. They forget like about profit and loss and like that. And they're kind of like, oh, those things don't matter because I'm online now. And actually it's so interesting when I look at people, who've worked in the corporate space and who have that commercial acumen. Generally, they've been more successful quicker than people who, like me, I completely discarded for the first 3 months of my business after leaving corporate, completely discarded everything. And it was the worst 3 months in my business. And once I went back and started looking at the fact that I was like, right, okay, I haven't created my own sales strategy. I haven't given myself KPIs. I'm living the freedom life of like, I'm going to get up at 10 because I can. And I'm going to go for a pub lunch because I can. It wasn't actually working. And sometimes I really question whether our idea of freedom walking into an online business from the corporate world is so far away from what we actually need to do for those first couple of years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think quite a few people who I know in the online business space, one thing is because your overheads can be so low, of course they're low, people make them ridiculously low and then aren't willing to invest. So I always think that, I've got one of my closest friends open a coffee shop and then a restaurant. Their overhead before the day anyone comes in, they've got to refit the place out. They have to pay for everything. It's a building, it's bricks and mortar and things like that, loads of overheads. And then our overheads can be, just basically our laptop, our internet connection, this and that. But then I think people forget that actually, no, you do still have to spend money and you do still have to invest. So, I guess one thing I've always done is I've always realized that you have to, you have to spend and you have to be willing, and online does not mean free and zero spend. So I think that's one thing that I see people do. And you think, well, the reason you're not succeeding is because you think that that's expensive. No, it's not. Like $200 a month for X. Do you know how much you pay on rent on a building and things like that? But I also agree. I think for me, the skill sets that I learn, even though I have a smaller team and a smaller business, they're so relevant because of the business that I have. So we manage the content of lots of different clients. And so we're really process driven. We're kind of a mixture of extremely creative, because that's what we are, a creative agency, but really, really system and process driven, because you couldn't even begin to imagine what our Trello boards look like, but you'd be like, whoa. But we have to be. So every single day, every single client, there's a number of things every single day, different things for different people. So I have to manage lots of different systems and lots of different processes that have all been put in place. And that's how we operate. We couldn't operate. That's what I used to do, go into businesses and assess the processes, make improvements, run through those improvements and implement them. So having systems, processes, I mean, even just simple things like document version control, it's kind of a joke sometimes how anal I can be, right, about these things. Like, guys, we've updated it, it's now V3, it's still got V2 on it. But that's corporate stuff, isn't it? Yeah. But it is important, all those things, like you said. You don't have to do things as bureaucratic and like pickety as it might have been in corporate. I've just recently been a bit more thorough in terms of performance management of my team, but not awful laborious performance management processes, but just actually having some documents that we fill in every month on, stop, start, continue, that kind of thing. And I'm just trying to bring back what used to work so effectively in corporate, but in a smaller scale, and something nice and agile and, suitable to the culture of my team, but not forgetting that actually it was important to set goals every month, and it was important to manage performance. And so all those kind of things, you're right, they all come in. It's just applied to the different culture and the different way that I want to run the business, I guess. It's just nice to be in charge.
Yeah, and it's like nice to be able to do it in a way that meets your needs. I mean, I remember having various different managers, directors, managing directors over the years, and they all had very different like performance management styles. For example, someone would come in and be like, every Monday, I remember him like slamming his fist down on the desk, be like, right, Jess, where's my money? And I'd be like,
wow.
crapping myself thinking, oh my God, like what do I have to pull out of the bag this week? And then I had other people who would, they would never come near you, but every day you get an email like, what have you closed today? And really micromanage. And you'd be like, I just don't know where I am. And I'm somebody who, I'm not a natural manager. Like, I could never, ever run your business because I really don't like managing people. I just don't enjoy it. I don't get anything from it. I'm not a good manager because I'm somebody who I naturally work quickly. And I'm very type A. So I'm just like, I just want this done. I don't care how it happens, just make it happen. And so when people come to me with the minutiae, I'm like, I don't care, just pick away and go. Like, if it works at the end, like, that's fine. That's all I'm bothered about. And I think that's the thing about personality. You've got to implement the process that works for you.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm really interested in, because content repurposing is, and I've talked about it a few times on the podcast, that people should repurpose their content, because consistently creating organic content is a mistake. It's one of those things that will eat up the most time in your business and not necessarily have the highest return at the beginning. Because if you're creating constant free content, you're just creating stuff that people can consume that isn't leading them anywhere. So I love that, you're working with people to repurpose effectively. But do you think there's a certain stage at which people should either start repurposing that content or actually outsourcing that role? Because it does take quite a lot of time to effectively repurpose and have your own system and process around how you want it done.
Yeah. Was your question, do you think people should outsource the original piece or more the...
No. So for example, I guess there's two questions there. One is, should you from the beginning repurpose your content? Like, I feel like I know where you're going to go on this, and I know what my stance is on it, but I think it's always useful to kind of set a foundation. And then at what point is it the right decision to, outsource that repurposing? At what point are you confident enough as a business owner that you can actually go to somebody else and say, now is the right time for me to repurpose?
Well, so repurposing, I just think, is essential. I think, any it's the ultimate content marketing strategy, because anything that you create, you need to make sure that you get the most value out of it. If you're spending hours a week on a podcast or video, maybe go live, do a live stream once a week, I just think to just then focus on the next one of those, the next podcast or the next video, without actually thinking, how can I get the most out of this? It's a bad move, because only a certain number of people consumed that original content. They were people who happen to, let's say it's podcasts, they happen to listen to podcasts. Well, actually, we both have podcasts, we love podcasts and we listen to them, but the majority of people actually don't listen to podcasts. It's still, in the lower stages of becoming mainstream as such. So if you only put a podcast out every week and that's it, and you don't repurpose, there's a limited number of people that you can contact. But most likely, you penned your thoughts and your ideas and everything like that. So if you take it away from being a podcast and just take it as a message, so you communicated a message in an audio format, well, it's kind of, to me, a real missed opportunity if you don't then think, okay, well, I spent all that time crafting my ideas and that message and it's brilliant. Why don't I now try and, for example, turn that into a blog post, so that those that don't listen to podcasts can find the blog post, increase my chances of get found anyway by SEO and all of that kind of thing. So turning something from, say, audio to written, maybe creating a video about it. And then let's face it, like social media then. So when everyone's trying to think, oh, what shall I post on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, wherever your audience is, if you're creating one long form piece of content, let's say weekly, there's your social content, but you have to just know how to break it down into social content, like standalone valuable nuggets. So whether, if it was a podcast, like the audiograms that you and I both create, like quotes, images, things like that, that even if someone didn't go and consume the entire podcast, they actually get something from that little nugget that you took out. Like, it was a great tip, a great piece of advice. So I think your repurposed content shouldn't be seen as like these kind of seconds of the original content. They should all have value in their own right, but it's just different ways of communicating the message that you put so much time and thought into constructing, but just put that into different formats to reach more people. If you just keep thinking next one, it's just a missed opportunity, I think. So repurposing helps you in so many ways, as well as just expanding your reach. You become more of an expert. You're seen as being more of an authority if you're saying the same thing, but able to communicate it in different ways, different mediums. And it's kind of just focus on quality and then expand that quality. Don't keep just in the next, because the quality would diminish if all you ever did was new organic. So I think that's really important. But in terms of outsourcing, I guess it depends on budget, really. I mean, my opinion is, if you had the budget, everyone should just kind of outsource to Content 10x.
But yeah, come from corporate. We're like, no, if we're not the experts, like, screw it, find something else.
I think so. I think it's funny because it's funny, isn't it? Because when you think about some of the things that you create with content, let's say with social media, and you want to create visually engaging content, so you might create some graphics and things like that. You maybe create video content. So what's the skill set there? Well, there's video editing. So we've got kind of graphic design, we've got video editing, writing really great blog posts, and copy is copywriting. And so I think, what kind of skills do you want in-house in your business, and what are you? Now, if you are a creative organization that would have in-house copywriters and videographers and graphic designers, then use your in-house capability. But then, does it necessarily make sense for certain businesses to have that as in-house capability? Or should you focus on what you do best and let other people focus on what they do best? And for example, one of my clients is a recruitment agency, treasury recruitment agency. So they're all recruiters, that's what they do. Does it make sense for a recruitment agency to hire a graphic designer and a videographer? Kind of seems like an odd skill set for a recruitment agency, or small, a small recruitment, even a large one, really. So I just think if you can, outsourcing is good, because also, as you as the business owner, do you really want to be managing and reviewing, the career of a videographer, copywriter, that kind of thing? But who you outsource to, obviously there's an all-in-one option like Content 10x, but then otherwise it's just, I suppose, outsourcing to individual freelancers, isn't it? As long as you've got the time to manage the different skill sets and the different freelancers, it probably makes more sense than, going all in-house. But I think budget and time is probably the biggest thing, isn't it? If you don't have a lot of budget and you don't have a lot of time, just do what you can do, but maybe don't always focus on the next new piece of content. just focus on how you can maximize current content before kind of constantly going on to the next one, I think.
I think that's such a good point. And I think it's so interesting because we're in a world at the moment, especially in the online business space, where everyone's like, you need to be on every platform, producing every form of content to get leads. And that's something I massively disagree with. I think that the constant creation of organic content is wrong. I don't think we live in that space anymore. And we were talking about Pat Flynn earlier. Pat Flynn is someone that I've got a lot of time for. But when, for example, like Pat Flynn and Amy Porterfield and, people starting their businesses, it was a kind of build it and they will come economy, because there wasn't anybody else.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Right. And so when they were creating blogs and things like that, and the people were searching it was kind of like, right, there are 4 or 5 people. Nowadays, there are like 500 people per minute who are thinking, right, I'm going to get into the online business industry, and in some way they're going to be involved in marketing or sales or mindset or whatever. And so actually, when you're just creating tons and tons and tons and tons of content, you're not focusing on sales. You're not focusing on your own. Like, you might think that creating content is marketing, but the reality is it's not, unless you use it in the right way. And that's why, like, the fact that, if you're repurposing it, and if you're being really smart about the platforms, because I know that one of the things that you guys do is, advise people on, okay, well, this is where it should go, and this is what, what's going to be most effective for you. Because I think that, we're in this age where it's so tempting to want to do, okay, I'm going to do video, and I'm going to have a podcast, and I'm going to have a blog, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to have that, just because I can, or because that's what everyone's teaching me to do. But it doesn't mean that's actually where your clients are trying to get hold of you, or even search for your content in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, for, like you said, let's say, for example, a live stream, like I'm going to go live on Facebook every Friday, but it's like, well, are you sure that your ideal client is on Facebook? Do they watch Facebook lives? Do they watch Facebook lives on a Friday afternoon? Like, it's kind of like, like you said, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And you really do need to be platform focused, like what is right for each platform. And I guess that's what we really do with our repurposing is, so your original content is a video, that's great, and we make it YouTube friendly. We'll look at the best durations on YouTube and what works on YouTube and things like that. But then what works on YouTube isn't the same as what's going to work on your website or on LinkedIn or on Instagram or that kind of thing. So what can we do with it so you don't have to create anything new that is more specific to what an audience on Instagram would like, or that kind of thing. But at first, always assessing, are they there? What kind of content do they like? So one of the things I've said before is, say, for example, that your audience are only on LinkedIn. You're absolutely sure they are, and you don't really think that you would get much traction from an Instagram audience or a Facebook audience or whatever, then don't focus on those platforms at all. Focus on LinkedIn. But we then like to say, but let's have a bit more of a multimedia kind of repurposing approach to LinkedIn. So if it was a podcast that you were doing as your long form, we could create a great article that would go on LinkedIn in a very, LinkedIn friendly format. We could create some good longer form posts based on the points that you made. Let's break them down. You made 10 points. That's 10 great posts over the next few weeks. Let's create a short audiogram or whatever. But it's like we have repurposed actually, but instead of just putting text on LinkedIn, we're now putting a video, we're putting visuals, we're putting an article, and maybe something over on SlideShare as well. So it's okay to focus on 1 or 2 platforms and not everywhere, but it's still good to try and mix up the medium. But again, just looking at what people are responding to as well, like, not just blindly doing it, giving it some time. But then if it's not getting traction, you need to change things up and not just always kind of just doing it because we've always done it. But actually, which is, you and I are like, from that corporate background, are so familiar with that, aren't we? Sometimes it's like, but why do you do this? It's just how we've always done it. Really?
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because the interesting thing that I find about corporates, and if we look at like what's going on with the economy right now, most of these businesses, I sat and predicted years ago, I was like, Toys R Us will go, Carpetright will go, like all these companies, I was like, yeah, Dixon's, bye. Like, and I didn't even think about it because they were just companies that they never changed. There was never any difference, and they were always discounting stuff, and that was their only real sales point, was right, well, we'll just do another discount. And then it's like, well, now you've just trained your people to only buy at the discounted times of the years, and your profit margins are just too low. And again, it was that, well, we've always done it, the industry has always been like that, so we're just going to do it. And we're coming to a point in the online business space where actually the economy is challenging at the moment. And instead of looking for new leads and new things all the time, actually it's a really good idea, even if you've got like a year experience in your business, to just be like, okay, what has really worked? What really took off for me? And just drill down and be like, right, okay, that's what I'm going to take forward. And don't worry about what everyone else is doing. You know, there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be a new Snapchat or a Periscope or a, you know, whatever. But those things generally are fleeting because the attention span of people now is so much lower.
Yeah, exactly. You need it. I know it's kind of a Gary Vaynerchuk thing to say, but it's trading on attention, isn't it? And it's what you need to know. What level of attention do you need to make all of these efforts worth it? To, as you said, not just create content willy-nilly, but create content that is linked to the right kind of conversions that leads to the right kind of sales that grow your business. So it's not just a willy-nilly approach, you know. It's strategic, isn't it? And it's about getting the right attention in the right places. I think I actually listened to a podcast this morning, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody was saying that there was this Instagrammer who had like 3 million or something followers.
I literally just did an episode on this.
Did you?
And all of those all those Instagram followers, and sold like 10 t-shirts.
Yeah, because
they're
not
to do with sell 38 or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's
so sad.
Quality attention, quality followers, people who care, the right kind of people, not about the numbers, being in the right place, putting out the right kind of content, but linked to what you want to achieve in your business. Not just because we could all help people with loads of things, couldn't we? I'll just help people grow this or grow that, but do you have a product that, you know, after you've helped them, does it lead anywhere? Or, you know, like you still have to have a strategic intention, otherwise it can be a very limited ROI, zero ROI potentially. So yeah.
No, I completely agree. Thank you so much for this. Seriously, it's been so interesting. I know people are going to be like, right, okay, I'm about to go and drill down on one or two platforms.
Yeah.
It makes me really happy because it's really hard to say the same thing again and again. Like, stop creating so much content. Like, just put it out in the right places. So where can people find you? Where's the best place for them to find you if they're interested in repurposing their own content and having that conversation?
Yeah, it just simply content10x.com, and then that's my website, and contact social and email and all that is just there. So content10x.com basically.
Love it. And Amy also has a podcast, which I was just on. In fact, on the day
today
it's launched, it's live, and we're going to be promoting it. So you will already have seen it. It's like we're talking in the future for you. But yeah, so make sure you go and check out our podcast. It's really, really good. There's some really interesting interviews and kind of case studies over there with regards to the different types of content repurposing and what other people are doing in their business. And then obviously make sure you do visit content10x.com. Thank you so much for coming on today. Honestly, it's been really, really, I was going to say jazzy, but I mean really, really great.
That sounds no, it's been fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's really good. Thank you.
So welcome. So guys, there you go. If you're interested in repurposing your content, which you should be, because nobody should be creating it all from scratch every single month, make sure you head over to content10x.com, check out Amy, check out her podcast, check out my episode, see what content I secretly repurpose, even not repurpose. That would be a completely different and I'm sure not valid thing. And if you have had a key takeaway from today, make sure you hit us up on social media. Let us know how we did and let us know what you're going to be doing with your content moving forward. I'll see you in the next episode on Monday.